I'm just going to throw it out there.
Sure.
Okay, my daughter does this, and I have some friends who have children who do this, but she'll be talking, and mid-sentence she'll start she'll be like, she'll pause, like, I told my friend that I like Ike to run, you know, she'll like kind of
stutter. She'll just stop.
Yeah, but it's almost like her brain was like, what am I going to say? Okay.
Yeah. She could very well be formulating what's going to come next.
Okay.
So we're talking about a child who's telling a story, so looking at her narrative, and it's a really complex process. So she's got to draw all of these words together, form all of these situations, and go through them point by point by point in a logical, sequential way to get her point across. That's a lot to do for a 6-year-old sometimes.
See, we take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. You're also having to deal with motor issues. So she's got to actually get everything through her mouth, her lips, her teeth, and form those words to talk. So some kids have trouble putting words together, and they have to kind of stop, collect themselves, and then tell the story, and then sequence the line of events, and then get their point across. So if you notice, a red flag would be kind of stopping and then not continuing, or stopping really frequently and not finding, the child won't find those words. They won't be able to draw those words from their lexicon, from their word bank, and get them out. And that could be cause for concern. And you might want to talk to the teacher in that case and say, you know, is my child participating in classroom activities? And if they're really struggling, you might want to consult your speech language pathologist and have them tested for either a language learning disorder or just a word finding problem. It might be that they're just collecting themselves. If it's a big family.
It's almost like sometimes she's trying to buy herself some time, because she'll be like, I really like Ike, and then she'll finish.
Right.
But it's like,
right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And what you're describing with your body language, I would not be concerned about any kind of stuttering or fluency problem.
It doesn't really seem like a stutter, because it doesn't start with the first letter of the word. It's like right in the middle of a word.
Right.
It's really bizarre.
And with stuttering, what you want to be concerned about is if the child is 5 or 6 and getting really tense and having some accompanying motor tics, maybe some facial grimacing or shoulder grimacing, and like you talked about, having those breaks, and really struggling. Yeah. That's like something to be concerned about.
For them to get that word out?
Absolutely. Okay. They're often aware of it. They know that it's hard for them. They get self-conscious. They get anxious. That's not what you're describing.
No.
What seems to me what you're describing is a child who's just kind of putting her ideas together.
She's all in here.
She's in her head a little bit. She's got to formulate that story.
Well, and I know, because I know Lola, what she has going on up here is very complex and complicated. And it's a world that she has developed that is just amazing.
So
one of these days she's going to get it out. Right? It's going to be amazing.
Sure.
What are some of the other real common speech issues?
I see a lot of what's called central auditory processing disorders, where a child has trouble when there's a lot of information presented to them through just one channel auditorily.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for example, a teacher is in the head of the class and giving very complicated directions. Maybe your child is 9, and the teacher says, okay, I need everyone to open their science books, turn to page 154, and go down to the bottom of the page where you see the red box.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information for a child with an auditory processing disorder. So what we do, if that child is already identified and working with a speech-language pathologist, is we work with the teacher and we structure the teacher's lesson so that we're using a multimodal sense. So not only auditory, but visual and tactile. In addition to auditory processing disorders, I see a lot of word-finding problems. So kids that really can't get to that word that they want. They might have difficulty saying what they mean. They might get really frustrated because they just can't find their words.
Now, do you go to a speech-language pathologist if your child has a real difficult time organizing organizing thoughts, not for speech, but for writing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So writing often is mirrored by spoken communication. So if a child has difficulty telling a story, finding their words, processing information, they may have trouble with beginning with their sound system, so beginning with spelling, and then that might lead to problems in writing. So you absolutely can get help from your speech language pathologist if you feel like your child is just having a lot of trouble with organization, with writing, with planning, with executing what they want to say, and they're having trouble in school.
I think I need a speech language pathologist.
Most children don't have the organization thing down. I mean, that's a hard thing to teach.
That comes much later.
And what about the actual formation of words and that type of thing? I mean, once a child gets into speech ed, you see, I mean, I know that my children have friends who are pulled out to do some remedial work on word formation and that type of thing. I mean, is that really very common?
It's very common. Articulation disorders, just straight articulation disorders. There's no problem with word finding. There's no problem with auditory processing. There's no problem with reading.
Right.
They just either don't have the oral motor strength.
That's my niece. My niece is like, I can't find a tomato.
Right, exactly, exactly. So she's doing a process called fronting. She's putting everything in the front of her mouth and saying tant instead of can't, which is produced in the back.
Fronting.
There you go.
Okay.
But that is, it is very common. It's absolutely not correlated with having a language learning disability, and they are pulled out and kind of fixed by the speech language pathologist, and then they go on their merry way. And sometimes it can be harder because they could have some weakness in their oral motor musculature, and it can take a long time. And as the child gets older, it can be really, really frustrating. They can become very self-conscious about it.
Right.
So that's, again, why you want to kind of identify these things early. You can go to the ASHA website. It's asha.org, and you can get information on which sounds should develop
Good
when.
to know. Yeah.
And that can be very helpful.
Thank you so much. This has been really helpful.
Absolutely.
For more information on Maia Magder and speech and language development, check out our website, mommycast.com.
So this is going to set a child up for college, because don't you know, when a child goes to when a child goes to college, it's going to be
very close to that stage right now.